She showed up to my engagement party wearing a wedding dress, but what she didn't know was every other woman there would be dressed the exact same way. I've never believed in public revenge. I was raised to be calm, composed, to take the high road. My mother used to say, when people try to dim your light, shine brighter, but never burn them. I took that to heart until the day my half-sister decided to wear a wedding dress to my engagement party. That was the day I learned some people don't want peace. They want control, and they'll steal joy straight from your hands if you let them. Let me take you back just a few months ago. I was in the thick of planning the most joyful celebration of my life, my engagement to Daniel, the man who saw me through 2 job losses, a family death, and the hardest decision I ever had to make about becoming a stepmom to his little girl. After 3 years, we were finally building a life of our own, and I wanted that moment, that single day, to be ours. Not flawless, but sacred. But that's not how my half-sister, Carla, sees the world. We share a father. That's where the connection ends. I'm Mia, 32, raised mostly by my mom, with quiet summers at Dad's place, where Carla reigned supreme. She was always the golden one, the real daughter, as her mother liked to remind me, with a smile so sweet it burned. Growing up, Carla never missed a chance to make a scene. My graduation? She wore white and gave an impromptu performance in the parking lot. My promotion? She announced she was moving to Paris for love that same day. Her drama was a storm that followed me, and for years I just tried to walk between the raindrops. But this time, it was different. This was my moment. And I knew she wouldn't let it pass without trying to upstage it. So when she casually mentioned over drinks that she'd found the perfect white gown for the engagement party, I didn't even flinch. I just sipped my wine, smiled, and said, "Perfect, so have I." That was the start, not of a confrontation, but of a quiet, calculated revenge. Carla was never just a sibling. She was a storm with designer heels and a flair for emotional sabotage. Our relationship was formal, not quite hostile, but definitely not warm. She was the daughter who grew up in our father's home, while I visited in carefully scheduled weekends and holiday rotations. I was the outside child, not in scandal, just in presence. My mother had full custody, and she kept our world quiet, measured, emotionally safe. But my father's side of the family, it was a circus with good lighting. Everything was a performance. Carla learned early that attention wasn't earned, it was seized. She didn't wait to be invited into a spotlight. She dragged it with her, and once it was on her, she made damn sure it stayed. It started small. On my 10th birthday, she wore a tiara and told everyone she was the real princess because her dress sparkled more than mine. At 16, she gave a toast at my birthday dinner, announcing she'd gotten her first modeling gig. I spent most of my party smiling politely while she recited her resume like an Oscar speech. My father always laughed it off. "She's just spirited," he'd say, clinking his glass. My mother, ever the master of understatement, would whisper to me later, "She has a complicated relationship with other people's joy." When I met Daniel, things shifted. For once, I had something Carla didn't understand, a real grounded relationship. Daniel wasn't flashy. He was kind, smart, a little introverted, but incredibly loyal. We met at a bookstore, of all places, and bonded over our mutual love of absurdly dark murder mysteries and overpriced pastries. He proposed in the most unexpected way, on a quiet Sunday morning, sitting on our apartment floor, splitting a cinnamon roll in silence. No ring yet, just a question, and his hand on mine. I said yes without hesitation, not because of the moment, but because of every moment that came before it. We decided to host a mid-sized engagement party before diving into wedding planning, something cozy but elegant. Think garden venue, warm string lights, acoustic covers of old love songs, close friends, some family, laughter, and real connection. I sent out the invitations 6 weeks in advance. I even made the mistake of adding Carla to the group chat. She responded almost immediately with, "Who, can we wear white?" I found a stunning dress that looks bridal, and I need to show it off. She added a winky face, always a winky face, as if that somehow made her antagonism cute. I replied with a short, "Lol, maybe don't wear a wedding dress to someone else's engagement party." She sent back a picture of the dress, and it was a wedding dress, a full-length, lace-trimmed sweetheart neckline piece that looked like it had been stolen off a bridal magazine cover. It even had a train. I stared at my screen for a long time. That familiar ache settled into my chest, an odd mix of disbelief and exhausted acceptance. She was going to do it. She was going to wear a wedding gown to my engagement party. And the worst part? No one in my family would stop her. If I protested too loudly, I'd be called dramatic. If I confronted her, she'd say it was a joke, and I'd look petty. And if I ignored it, I'd spend the night explaining to people that no, she wasn't the bride. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I did something Carla never expected. I stayed quiet, and I started to plan. It started with that dress photo, shameless, ivory, floor length. It wasn't even subtle. She knew what she was doing, and the worst part? Everyone else would pretend not to see it. I could already picture the scene, guests arriving in cocktail dresses and blazers, the hum of excitement around Daniel and me, the first clinks of champagne glasses, then her, gliding in, fashionably late, making just enough noise to draw eyes, all slow strides and soft smiles. Dressed like the bride on my night. I'd seen her do it before. She wore all white to her best friend's baby shower once. The theme was garden floral. She said white counted as floral because the dress had lace. People whispered. Carla just giggled. My mother used to say Carla wasn't cruel, just empty. She couldn't handle not being the center of gravity. If she wasn't orbiting, she'd implode. That photo rattled in my mind for days. I didn't even show Daniel. I knew what he'd say. Let it go, let her embarrass herself. Everyone will know what she's doing. But that's the thing. People wouldn't say anything. They'd smile politely. Maybe gossip quietly after. But during the party, they'd just assume I was okay with it. Or worse, they'd think I invited her to wear it. And Carla would take that silence and twist it into victory. This wasn't just about a dress. This was about a long line of moments where she took something of mine, attention, affection, space, and reshaped it to suit herself. She couldn't celebrate me. She had to compete, always. I sat on my couch that night, phone in my hand, staring at her text. I scrolled through the group chat. A few of my friends had liked her message. No one had questioned it. And then I saw it, my own reflection, faint in the screen. Calm, but something simmering just beneath. Not anger, not sadness. Something older, tired, ready. That's when it hit me. If Carla wanted a spotlight, I'd hand her a floodlight. But I'd make sure she was completely invisible inside it. I didn't need to fight her. I just needed to blend her into the background. That night, I changed the theme of the party. It took 5 minutes to update the invite. Updated theme, white wedding chic. Everyone wear your best. Bridal, elegant, white-inspired looks. I sent it quietly, no fanfare, no explanations, just a message in the group chat with a cute gif of a model in a veil holding a glass of rosé. People loved it. Responses poured in, fun twist. Love this, very Vogue. Can't wait to wear my rehearsal dinner outfit again. Carla didn't say a word. That silence told me everything I needed to know. The days leading up to the engagement party felt like walking a tightrope. I played it cool, smiled through dress fittings, confirmed the final guest list, double-checked the caterers. On the outside, everything looked perfect. Inside, I was wading through a storm of memories, of all the times Carla had stolen the air out of the room. And yet, I still felt guilty. There's something twisted about being the calm one your whole life. You're trained to keep the peace, to diffuse rather than confront. And when you finally choose to push back, even in the most elegant way, your own mind questions you. Am I being petty? What if this blows up? What if she cries and makes herself the victim again? Those thoughts haunted me, but I reminded myself this wasn't about revenge in the cruel sense. It was about protection, about drawing a line. And quietly, I began preparing for what I knew would be the final test. Carla still hadn't responded to the theme change. She read every message, though. I could see the scene notifications. Friends were excited, sending photos of white outfits and veils they planned to wear as jokes. My cousin even joked about bringing a fake bouquet. The idea was catching fire, and Carla was silent. That silence was heavy. It told me she wasn't backing down. She was waiting. She wanted to shock. To have her moment. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She thought the theme was a bluff, that I was calling her out in a way that would scare everyone else but not her. She'd double down. She always did. And that's when I realized something deeper, something that shook me. This wasn't just about me. Carla's need to outshine wasn't just a personality quirk. It was her way of surviving, of making herself relevant. And it had worked for so long, because no one had ever dared to gently unravel her performance. I wasn't just upstaging her. I was stripping her of her mask, not with cruelty, but with calm, and that terrified her. Still, I hesitated. One night, 2 days before the party, I nearly canceled the theme altogether. I drafted a message saying, "Hey guys, let's just keep it simple. Wear whatever you want." I hovered over send. Then my phone lit up. It was a DM from one of Carla's friends, someone I barely knew. She'd apparently been accidentally added to the invite list through a group connection. Her message was simple. "Hey, heads up. Carla said she's going to go full bridal no matter what you do. She thinks this is all hilarious. Just thought you should know." I stared at that message. All the guilt dissolved. All the doubt evaporated. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't an accident. It was a threat. A direct attempt to steal my day. That night, I sat on my bed, hands folded in my lap, heart beating steady. Not fast, not panicked, just firm. I whispered to myself, "She's going to try to shine. Let her walk into a room full of stars." The day before the party, I walked through the venue with the coordinator, a quiet garden tucked behind a family-owned restaurant, filled with ivy-covered trellises, white roses, and warm hanging lights. It looked like something out of a fairy tale, and it was mine, if only for a few hours. I made sure everything was exactly right. Not extravagant, just elegant, romantic, and intentional. Even the napkins were embroidered with our initials. But the real masterpiece? The guests. Everyone had committed to the theme. I hadn't expected such enthusiastic participation, but something about white wedding chic gave people permission to go bold. Women showed me their outfits in advance: short white cocktail dresses, flowing gowns, faux veils with rhinestones. The men planned all-white suits, suspenders, even white fedoras. My best friend rented a white tuxedo jacket she'd originally worn to a themed gala. The group chat had become its own mini runway. And still, Carla said nothing, not even a "can't wait." Not a single emoji, but she was coming. I knew that. Carla wouldn't miss a stage this big, not after she'd made such a point about her dress. The day of the party, I woke up unusually calm. No nerves, just clarity. Daniel made me coffee and kissed my forehead. "You look like you're about to do something dangerous," he said, laughing. I smiled. "I'm just letting the night play out." We arrived a bit early. I wore a white silk halter dress, simple but radiant under the garden lights. I didn't need to outshine anyone. I just needed to be there, fully present. The woman he chose, the woman I had grown into. The guests began trickling in, and that's when I saw it. The plan was working. The crowd was a sea of white. Some outfits were so over the top they bordered on theatrical. Faux veils, white gloves, pearl clutches. One friend came with a bouquet of lilies as a prop. Another had a tiny plastic tiara perched in her hair. It was joyful, chaotic, and exactly what I'd envisioned. And then she arrived. Late, of course. The entrance was cinematic. I caught the sound of her heels before I saw her. Slow, deliberate clicks echoing across the stone path. I turned, drink in hand, perfectly still. Carla emerged like a soap opera villain. She wore the dress, the exact one she had sent in the group chat. Fitted bodice, dramatic skirt. The kind of thing you'd expect to see walking down an actual aisle. She even had her hair in a low bun and wore soft bridal makeup. She looked beautiful and completely invisible, because everyone else had gone just as hard. For a moment, she stood frozen, scanning the crowd. Her eyes darted from one white gown to another, some longer, some sparklier, some even louder than hers. She wasn't the bride. She was just another guest. She tried to smile, but it faltered. I walked up to her slowly, arms outstretched. "Carla, you look incredible," I said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "I'm so glad you got the theme memo." A few people turned. Someone clapped. A couple of my friends, bless them, started complimenting her dress as if she were just another themed guest. One woman said, "OMG, I almost bought that exact one." Like it was from Zara. Carla blinked. I watched it register. The silence, the absence of shock, the lack of spotlight. No one gasped, no one pointed, no whispers. She was one among many. She nodded stiffly, her usual sparkle dulled. "Thanks. Didn't realize so many people would go full white." "Oh yeah," I said with a casual shrug. "Everyone went all in. I guess you just set the tone early." Her jaw tightened for just a second. Then she grabbed a drink and faded into the party. And that was it. No scene, no explosion, just quiet, elegant justice. She mingled, but never found her moment. Every time someone complimented her, it was followed by another guest being praised for their outfit. Every corner of the garden had another vision in white. She was forgettable. For someone like Carla, that was the sharpest cut. I didn't humiliate her, I just dissolved her power, and I did it without ever raising my voice. Here comes the emotional payoff, where everything flips quietly and the victory sinks in. As the night wore on, a shift happened. It wasn't dramatic. No one screamed, no drinks were thrown. But slowly, steadily, the energy of the room began to wrap itself around Daniel and me, just as it was always meant to. Guests came to us in waves, hugs, toasts, inside jokes, memories shared under soft garden lights. Every speech made was heartfelt. Every photo taken seemed to orbit us like a subtle reminder. This is your moment. No one can take it. I watched Carla from a distance. She stood alone more often than not, swirling her drink, her eyes scanning the crowd like she was waiting for someone to say something, anything, to validate the dress, the effort, the entrance. But no one did. Everyone had leaned fully into the theme, and no one gave her the attention she'd come for. At one point, she tried to joke with my best friend Rachel. She said, "We should start a trend. Everyone wears white to every party. Total chaos." Rachel smiled politely and replied, "Totally. But this one really suits Mia. She looks amazing, doesn't she?" That moment landed like a punch in the ribs. I could tell. Carla's smile tightened. Her hand fidgeted on her wine glass. She didn't respond. I stayed across the space, holding Daniel's hand, receiving congratulations from people who had watched us grow together. And I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not triumph, not smugness, just stillness. As if for the first time in years, the air around me was mine. Not borrowed, not stolen. Mine. Carla hovered near the bar most of the night. She took photos with a few mutual acquaintances, but even in the pictures, she blended into the sea of white like wallpaper. There was nothing for her to anchor herself to. She was just another guest in a themed party she never meant to support. And the most telling sign? She left early. Didn't say goodbye, didn't hug me, just disappeared. Someone mentioned later that she left with her heels in hand, muttering something about having an early morning. But I knew better. She left because she couldn't find the power she was used to having. And instead of causing a scene, she disappeared, because in that moment, she had no audience. And that was everything I needed. I didn't want her to hurt. I just wanted her to know she couldn't walk over me anymore. That I was done playing the quiet, forgiving shadow in her spotlight. And I didn't need to raise my voice or retaliate cruelly. All I had to do was reclaim my space. The next morning, I woke up feeling light. No lingering resentment, no need to rehash the night with venom, just a deep, gentle satisfaction. Daniel made breakfast while I sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through photos our friends had sent. Picture after picture showed laughing faces, glasses mid-toast, Daniel and I in perfect harmony under the lights. And in every single one, Carla was either blurry in the background or not there at all. And that's exactly how I wanted to remember it. She didn't ruin anything. She didn't steal a second of joy from me. She had arrived like a queen and exited like a footnote. Later that week, I got a text from my father. "Great party. Carla seemed a little off. Everything okay?" I stared at it for a while, considering what to say. I almost replied, "Yeah, she just didn't get the reaction she expected." But I deleted it. Instead, I wrote back simply, "It was a perfect night. Thanks for coming." Because that was the truth, and I didn't owe Carla or anyone an explanation. I knew she was licking her wounds, probably telling someone I had ambushed her or made the party about theatrics. But that didn't matter. I didn't stage a show. I built a boundary. I didn't silence her. I made space for myself. That kind of peace doesn't need to be defended. What stuck with me most wasn't the silence from Carla. It was the loud love from everyone else, the genuine laughter, the way Daniel kept touching my back when he walked past me, the way my stepdaughter held my hand and said, "You looked like a real princess, Mia." That moment rewired something in me, because I realized revenge isn't always a blow, sometimes it's a mirror. And when I held that mirror up to Carla, without anger, without shame, she saw exactly who she was. And that was louder than anything I could have said. I used to think strength looked like confrontation, like standing up, speaking out, making sure everyone heard you. But that night, I learned something far more powerful. Strength can be silent. It can be a choice made in private, a plan crafted in stillness. It can be smiling when you could scream, walking away when you could chase, and most of all, claiming your own joy, even when someone tries to poison it. Carla hasn't mentioned the party since. She posted a few photos from that night on Instagram, but none of the ones with me in them. Just a close-up of her dress, a caption that read, "When you show up and everyone copies your look." I laughed when I saw it, because even in her denial, she gave me the greatest gift, proof that I no longer lived in her shadow. She tried to steal a moment. Instead, she watched it pass her by. And I glowed, I danced, I laughed until my cheeks hurt. Because I had taken every piece of her game and flipped it on its head, not to humiliate her, but to finally, gracefully, set myself free. Revenge didn't taste like bitterness. It tasted like champagne under soft lights, held in the hand of the man I love, surrounded by people who truly saw me. So no, I didn't fight her. I just made her irrelevant. And in the end, that was louder than anything she could have worn. If you've ever had someone try to steal your moment, quietly or not so quietly, tell me how you handled it in the comments. And if this story hit a nerve, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder. The best revenge is reclaiming your peace.